Good evening, friends, and welcome to another episode, or live stream, I should say, of Tim Kirby Russia, where Tim Kirby, an American who's lived in Russia for about 20 years and worked in the Russian media big time for most of that period, tell you what life is like and politics are like from a Russian perspective. So today, our overall topic is about this interesting, let's just say, incursion. It seems to be the word of choice by the Russian media in English. The incursion of Kiev's forces onto the territory of Russia itself. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I think today we're going to have mostly an open chat. We'll take calls as usual and read comments and all that other stuff coming up pretty soon. But our main topic of the day has to do with, again, this incursion or possible, I don't know, you might want to say invasion or attack pushing into the border of the Kursk region. That is basically, if you remember the Battle of Kursk, as we call it in English, that was the battle in World War II, the largest tank battle in the world. It's referring to that region of the world, okay? And it's a part of the war that hasn't seen much action. As you probably remember, the bombings of Russian civilians have mostly taken place in the Belgorodskaya region, where Belgorod is, right? Not where Kursk is. It's hard to say. I want to say it like the English way and the Russian way at the same time. We'll do it the Russian way, Kursk. So where Kursk is, that has, there's been, of course, some attacks on it, but not very much until recently. But I think the one thing, if we're to believe the major Russian media, the real thing that we should take away from this event before we analyze it, because on the one hand, you could say, is there a second life in Ukraine's forces? Was there some sort of massive hole in Russia's defenses? Well, so here's the thing. If what Russian media says, and I quote from RT, an invading force of some 1,000 servicemen and dozens of armored vehicles has entered Russia's Kursk region. First off, I don't know why when they speak in English they take the adjectival names off of stuff. So I always want to say Kurskaya region, but they call it Kursk region. I don't know why that is. I don't like it, but what can I do? But that is a very moot point. The main thing is that 1,000 servicemen, that is an awfully small invasion force. And just that one sentence alone tells me a lot about what's actually happening there. I think, unfortunately for the lives of those 1,000 servicemen, many of whom are probably conscripts, who I do have, my heart goes out to, foreign mercenaries and professional, sort of, let's just put it this way, anti-Russians, I have a lot less mercy for. But regardless, that's a teeny tiny force. That is not the type of force that you could use to push, let's just say, drive a wedge into enemy territory. This, unfortunately, guys, no matter how far along we are in this war, it seems like the desire for either people within NATO or the Western establishment or the halls of power of Kiev or somewhere, these people really like their PR stunts. And this looks like a PR stunt. This really looks like a, hey, don't look at the problems in Israel. No, America, we heard you're going to send 4,000 servicemen right to the banks of Israel, supposedly. You're going to support Israel and everything. No, don't worry. Look, we're making progress. We're not failing. Look, we even invaded Russia proper. Yeah, I think that's what this is. They're going to waste 1,000 men's lives. Well, 100% of guys in some sort of military action never die. It's some sort of weird math thing. So let's just say around 900 guys are going to die, judging by math, to accomplish a very, very belated PR goal. I mean, if the mission was to PR this conflict to some sort of level where the West would really enter it or give everything Kiev wanted, when it wanted, how it wanted, this is the kind of thing they probably should have done as soon as the thing started. But this is probably gonna what you'd might want to call too little, too late. And one of the interesting things about doing a live stream, I just saw someone come in. They listened for 2 seconds and then vanished. I'm on the other monitor. I'm always interested. What did I say in those 2 seconds that they didn't like? Today I'm a little bit more relaxed. I'm actually feeling weird. I woke up kind of, I don't know. I slept a little bad last night. I'm feeling weird all day. But anyways, so I'm a little slower than my usual machine gun pace of words. But what seems to be, and again, guys, someone might say, Tim, you've read one sentence of one article. That's not good political analysis. I just want to point out that one sentence is pretty darn good. Because, again, there is no way that you can launch a serious attack into the enemy's actual territory with 1,000 guys. And if it's true that there are dozens of armored vehicles, I mean, that's nice. But if those armored vehicles are those Bradley fighting vehicles, then that's not very good either. Friends, if there's anything that we should have learned from the war, is the Bradley fighting vehicle is a piece of crap. Those things are just a death trap. Most of the, at least what the military experts say, is that a lot of the armored personnel characters, or the armored personnel characters, like it's a role-playing game, armored personnel carriers and various sort of like fighting vehicles and stuff are like not true APCs, and they were really designed for these sort of conflicts in the Middle East against terrorists and dealing with IEDs, and so they're all artificially tall. So like in a real war, when you have a tank, you kind of want to find that sweet spot where the tank is as low as it can be, with all the stuff being able to, fit inside it, including the crew and the engine and the ammo and all that. Why? Because something that's lower to the ground is harder to hit from far away. Every little hill or bump or whatever along the way provides more and more cover for the tank. Whereas if a tank is really, really tall, like if you remember the very first tanks in World War I, which, they weren't really planning for any anti-tank weapons, because that was the first usage of tanks. But anyways, the taller a tank is, when you get into your sort of Warhammer 40k style tanks, the more of it's exposed. And it seems to me like that difference of, a couple feet with that frickin' Bradley and those other various fighting vehicles, or what is it called, the German one, the Marder, or whatever it is, which I think means marauder and not murder in English, but who knows. Man. Or was it the Bushwhacker from Australia, or is that the wrestling tag team from the 80s? Bushman? No, that's now racist. Bush something. That Australian Jeep that's armored. What a piece of crap that is. They're all too tall. Long story short, sorry guys, I'm being long-winded. Then again, this is a live stream. They're all just way too tall. And so if they're sending in those kind of armored vehicles in the region, those are dust. They're absolute dust, trying to push forward when that armored vehicle's peeking out so high over any hill or horizon or broken walls, buildings, whatever, fences. Yeah, this is kind of a doomed endeavor. So anyways, let's take a little look at the RT article. I know I'm not the best person at reading, but I thought that this article was really good and very concise. So they write, what happened? Early on Tuesday, the Ukrainian military launched a major raid on Russia's Kursk region, breaking through the border at multiple locations. The attack was focused on the town of Sudzha, located some 9 kilometers from the border. The town, which is the administrative center of the namesake district, has been subjected to continuous indiscriminate artillery and drone strikes. So, okay. Heavily armed Ukrainian forces. According to Russian military estimates, up to 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been involved in the attack. The personnel broke through using dozens of heavy hardware pieces, including tanks of various types, U.S.-made Stryker armored personnel carriers. The Stryker personnel carrier is different. I haven't heard many rumors about that one. Maybe that one's better. Maybe it's better, I don't know. And other armored cars and equipment. The advance halted. The fighting raged through the night, continuing into Wednesday, with Russian military conducting artillery, aerial, and ballistic missile strikes on the advanced Ukrainian forces. The incursion has been halted, with the invading force losing over 300 troops and 54 armored vehicles, including at least 6 tanks. Well, there you go. 1/3 of the force, roughly speaking, is already gone. The chief of the Russian General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, told President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday this information. So, again, what you're seeing is, although I think the Stryker might be a more serious armored personnel carrier, so you have to give Kiev credit for sending in something worthwhile. Guys, I couldn't find a good map. I should have saved it when I was looking on VK. But essentially what they've done with this attack, and one of the reasons why I think this is pure PR, because it's suicidal, is they kind of found a gap between really Russia's forces, and they rushed forward. Okay, cool. Well, what happens in a war when you find a gap between forces and you push forward really fast without, having follow-up attacks or establishing your supply line? Oh yeah, guess what? You're surrounded. It's just like that board game Risk. If you sort of pile all your guys onto one square and you start pushing forward deep into Asia, and all you have is one little unit left on each country, then you're surrounded and you just get absorbed because you've put yourself right into the cauldron, as Russians call it, or right between the horns of the bull, as the Zulus would probably refer to it. The worst place to be, basically, especially in modern warfare, with all sorts of explosive goodies from the sky. So, yeah, crazy. Anyways, the RT article continues. They say Moscow's reaction. Moscow's condemned the attack, which President Vladimir Putin described it as a large-scale provocation, with the Ukrainian military conducting indiscriminate strikes on civilians, residential buildings, and ambulances. And as we've talked about before many times, guys, Ukraine is losing the production battle because, well, they're not really the ones producing anything. It's more the West. And yet, civilian targets get hit to this day, and it almost seems like with primacy. So, baffling. Absolutely baffling the way they use their forces. Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, remember, her name isn't something like Zakharova, Zakharova, suggested the attack is being used as a smokescreen for Kiev to prolong its deadly mobilization. That's an interesting theory. So, but I don't know. I really don't think that this is an internal propaganda thing. So I kind of think of it as being an external propaganda, as in showing the West and the rest of the world that we're still in this thing. This isn't over. I don't think that if you were to get into the minds of locals at this point, that, oh, wow, we had one minor event that kind of looked like a win. Oh, boy, I'm going to sign up now because we have the initiative behind them. Nah, I think the populace is, even with the total, blanket ban on any sort of Russian media, I don't think that that's the case. I'd have to disagree with her on that. Legislation prolonging the drive for another 3 months was quietly signed by... Oh, yeah, that's one thing is true, is Zelensky signed what is it called in English? It is called martial law. That's it. Martial law has been extended for another 3 months, and with martial law, the draft has been extended for another 3 months in Ukraine. And again, you might be asking, but Tim, isn't Zelensky not really officially the president anymore? No, he's not, but that doesn't stop anyone from doing stuff, especially unless, let's just put it this way, in countries where people are very skeptical towards laws and bureaucracy. So anyways, the RT article ends up saying, what's next? The Russian military is seeking to inflict defeat on Ukraine's invading force, pushing it back across the border, Gerasimov said. Kiev appears to be anticipating a new cross-border offensive by the Russian military. The authorities in Ukraine's Sumy region, the neighboring region to, where the attack took place, which borders on Kursk, they say, announces on Wednesday the mandatory evacuation of civilians from the area within 10 kilometers of the border. If memory serves me correct, and if I get this wrong, people are going to really hate me, but I believe it's something like Kursk, Sumy, Kiev, kind of like in an arc, going from east to west, the way I said it. And so, yeah, this is probably just going to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised because, okay, sorry, I'm tripping over my words here. Before I get to your comments, because there were a few comments even before the live stream started, which is awesome. I always appreciate that. Is you have to remember that when Putin's given some talks, he said that the minimum to start negotiations is for the Crimea and the 4 states that Russia seized, being Zaporozhye, Khersonskaya, and the 2 republics of the Donbass, Luganskaya and Donetskaya. So Putin said that that's the minimum. That's now part of Russia. That's non-negotiable. Everything else is negotiable. Well, he also said that Odessa is a Russian city, and I think he may have said that Kharkov is a Russian city, right? Oh, I think I said Kursk. Did I say, no, it's Kharkov, Sumy, Kiev. Did I say Kursk? I hope I didn't. Kharkov, Sumy, Kiev. Oh, boy. Well, might have screwed that one up. But anyways, so what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the leadership in Russia has really mentioned Kharkov and Odessa as being these sort of inherently Russian places founded within the Russian Empire. They're not connected to some sort of Western European or Central European shenanigans, however you want to look at it. Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons why, and not just because they wanted to push the Ukrainian artillery away from Belgrade, but it's probably partially one of the reasons why they even went into the Kursk region, just to make sure that, when the negotiations start, they got plenty of men there at the very least, and like I said, to push back the artillery. So yeah, now this might force Russia's hand then to go into the Sumskaya region or Sumy region or whatever the hell you want to call it. And so in a lot of ways, this also really opens the door for Russia to take even more when the eventual negotiations start. Because even with this interesting achievement, which I haven't really seen a Western media reaction to this, maybe you guys can help me. Maybe CNN is actually flipping out over this. But from what I've seen, only people in Russia seem to be interested in this particular event. And you might say, then Tim, why are you talking about it? Because it's relevant to Russia. This is Tim Kirby Russia, not Tim Kirby France, Germany, Italy, or the United States. And so it also is very telling that this, since at least maybe I'm wrong, again, maybe CNN has exploded and they're talking about this ad nauseum, but it doesn't really seem like it very much. And it also shows that in the past, this kind of minor success, in quotes, would have been blown out of proportion to show that the Russians are losing. And now it seems like no one cares. It really does, like, at least this one prediction, which wasn't the craziest prediction I've had, that the United States is going to shift over to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That's where they're going to go hard, and we're going to memory hole, as our friends at the Duran like to say, memory hole the Ukrainian conflict at some point. And it looks like, yeah, this is too little too late. No one is going to care about this anymore, and the big shift is on. The shift towards Israel, Palestine, and I think this is just telling because, again, if this was important, the Western mainstream media would have been all over it. So anyways, guys, that's my main spiel for today. I'm going to take a look at some of the questions people had before they got started. If you want to call in and talk to me, you can use the raise your hand function here within Telegram if you're watching live. Obviously, if you're seeing this on not Telegram, that's not live and you can't call in. But anyways, let's see about some questions. I've traveled to Novosibirsk. Daniel Craig, which I believe played the role of James Bond, so we have a real celebrity with us. I've traveled to Novosibirsk twice in September of 2023 to visit family, in quotes. I felt very safe both times, but the current political climate has me starting to get a little concerned about ongoing safety for Americans specifically. I don't want to be on CNN. Well, what do you mean, Daniel? Are you here and listening to this? What do you mean? What is going to happen to you? If you're talking about that one reporter, whatever his name was, the guy with the oh my God, the Jewish guy. What was he? Something like, I don't know. I want to say Evan Finkelstein, but that's not it. That's because he was specifically trying to film Russian military bases. You can ask all sorts of people. Oh, that the woman who interviews a lot of people who we've had on this program, or kind of friends of friends of this program. Her name is Anya. She is Polish, and I believe the name of her YouTube channel is Through the Eyes of. She was actually accidentally started filming things, and the FSB was like, come on, don't film that. And she was like, okay. They're like, who are you? Could you tell what you're doing? And she was like, hey, look at this. And they're like, okay, that's cool. And they let her go. If you wanted one anecdotal piece of evidence there, I don't know. I think, Daniel, you really are sort of projecting the way that people in Anglo-Saxon countries tend to look at the world. Because remember, as the sort of linguistic ethno group that really believes in democracy and liberalism first and foremost, we're behind it. We're the ones who really think that, you get what you vote for, and your government really reflects you. Whereas in Russia, sometimes government do what you want. Sometimes government no do what you want. What to do? You drink. So, here things aren't really... I mean, there are some people who act that way, but not that many. It seems after all those years of communism, people sort of understood that sometimes the Communist Party just does what it does. And there's not much you can do about it. EJ, how different is the attack in the Kursk region from RDK attacks in Belgrade? Well, wait, RD, would that be, oh, the Russian, I think you're referring to those, okay, yeah, yeah. So he's referring, I think by RDK, he means like, the Russians, supposedly Russians, volunteer force that, rose up, I believe, somewhere in the first year of the war to make major attacks and sort of like push into Russia. Again, these people within Russian are referred to as Vlasovцы. Who is Vlasov? He was a sort of general for the Third Reich who was a Russian guy who essentially organized, theoretically, Russians or Russian speaking people to fight against the Soviet Union during World War II, and they kind of used the same symbolism and methodology. They're kind of like, Ukraine's uh, private battalions, but ones that are oriented towards Russia. So very similar fascistic mentality and way of seeing the world. But anyways, so are they similar? Well, I can say during the first year of the war, when there was that uprising, it did raise some eyebrows in Russia. Like, oh my, they're really, the Vlasovцы are back after 80 whatever years. Oh my God, how did that happen? And they were dead within 48 hours, dead or arrested. And in fact, the Vlasovцы were actually the new ones, not the World War II. The ones that rose up in the first year of the war, and again, I'm pretty sure it was during the first year, but don't quote me on that. They were actually, not only were they taken down within like 48 hours, but they were mostly taken down by police forces, as in like you're more like SWAT team and cops using assault rifles more so than the military. So that utterly failed and fell apart. So, in what ways are these two events similar? PR. Well, it's hard to prove what the motivations behind some action are, but both of these were PR. The first one was to show the Russians themselves are standing up to fight against the evil regime, and this recent attack, like I just said, I believe it's something like, hey, don't look at Israel, this war is still viable, we're capable of winning, blah blah blah, something like that, to sort of grab fleeting attention from the West or make some sort of proof that they're winning. So both of these phenomena are linked to PR more so than military effectiveness. Then again, when the Vlasovцы rose up in the first year of the war, they probably, there's a very good chance in the West that they really thought that they would succeed. At this point in the war, there is no way that any of the generals involved in this would think that sending 1,000 guys to just plow their way into Russian territory, winding up completely surrounded as a result of doing so, that there'd be some chance of success with this. So I think the first one probably seemed like it would work, depending, but the second one, that was doomed before it was even started. So anyways, the person EJ actually continues. I kind of cut him off here. So he says, why has it been described as a TikTok operation by a lot of pro-Russian commentators? Because like I've just said during this live stream, it looks like this is to make some sort of show of strength, to show that there's still fight left in the Kiev regime and that they've accomplished something, rather than actually accomplishing something. It is, in Russian, the word for that is показуха. Показуха, because to show something is показывать, показать. You remember, there's two Russian verbs for everything. And показуха is like a, dog and pony show or a farce or something. And this is very показуха, my friend. Anyways, he continues, how can it be a PR stunt when it destroys a Russian town and kills Russian civilians? Well, if RT is at least telling the partial truth, it destroyed some buildings and killed 25 people. Something like that. That is a farce. If what would be the objective be of, let's just say you are trying to, and this is one of the reasons why many people are mad that the special military operation started so softly with only like 200,000 guys, or maybe less. Maybe it was actually 100,000 went in initially. And everyone, especially in the military elite, were like, what are we doing? You got to go in hard. Okay, if you're gonna push into another country, you got to go in hard and move the supply chain and your the sort of electronic warfare and all that stuff. You've got to either push hard or don't do it. This is 1,000 guys. That's a joke. In military terms, that's an absolute joke. Because essentially, if you're advancing and you're advancing against non-fortified territory, the advantage or the rule of war is 3-1. So that means that 1,000 guys of the Ukrainian army could, push in and theoretically overwhelm and defeat 333 Russian soldiers. No, that's a farce. That's ridiculous. Who is in charge of protecting the border? The border is absolutely gigantic, and if you look at maps of the actual war zone, you'll see that there are some major gaps, and you wonder, why has no one pushed through there? That is something that maybe a military expert could state, but there are plenty of places still where there really isn't, or there are not, I should say, large forces. It's just open. Seriously. That's when the Russians pushed into the Kursk region to help out Belgrade from being shelled. They met virtually no resistance initially. Yep. Joshua, I was wondering if I should reboot my education at MGU. That stands for Moscow State University. I studied political science, philosophy, Russian language, finance, and economics. Well, Joshua, I would really need more details about that. And also what your financial situation is. Because if you already have a degree, well, the question is, why do you need a second degree? What is that going to get you? What's the advantage of having even more than one degree? Because the whole point of getting a degree is to do something with it. Just have some sort of career, job, or whatever. So you should ask yourself, what would studying at Moscow State University do that would be so amazing that it would give me some sort of major boost in my career? How would that help? Okay. If your goal is not to have a cool career with your diploma, then if you're still listening, you should write and say what your actual end goal is. What's the point of this? Like, why learn Russian? Why bother? What's so interesting about it? What can it get you in life? What's the point? So on and so forth. If the objective is to move here, because if you study and get an entire degree, not just like, study a little bit here, but you get your full degree at a Russian university, or I think certain Russian universities, and you do it with honors, so you get the really good grades, then I believe you could get a residency permit. But that's a lot of money and a lot of time from your life. So that's another thing to think about. And also, you better not get any C's. Or in Russia, 3s. Threes. If enough men attack so Christopher actually answered EJ, that'll get too confusing. Well, maybe it won't be. Christopher says, if enough men attack a section of the front gives, and their reinforcements destroy the attackers. Well, yeah. It's called a bush. Thank you, Buckeyes. It's a Bushmaster. That's the Australian vehicle, which also seems to be very badly designed for war on the Eurasian steppes. Not much. Then again, Australia's pretty flat and pretty open, you'd think. But then again, Australia's very homogenous in a political sense. So maybe they feel very protected by the oceans. I don't know. So it's Bakani continues. That's the Australian junkie army vehicle you're trying to mention. Thank you. So it's the Bushmaster. Excuse me. The Bushwhackers were a professional wrestling tag team from the 1980s. There we go. See, if you say something sophisticated, it makes it more funny. There's your terrible comedian lesson for the day. As someone who worked did the morning zoo for like 7 years in Russia. Whoa! It's a good way to make stock humor. Anyways, Christopher suggests, he continues and says, I suggest dropping the soft stuff. Keep the Russian language classes and study something that will get you a real job. Engineering, if you can handle the math, or even accounting, finance. Well, yeah, Christopher, but then again, I don't know what Joshua, I know, has written me a few times, but I'm sorry, Joshua, a lot of people write me and my memory sucks. One thing we talk about this program, Tim's memory sucks. Maybe for historical events, it's pretty good, and for the opinions of philosophers, but when it comes to stuff like this, it's hard to remember. But if you're just starting your university studies, you might want to think about what would be very practical. But again, one thing we don't tell young people is to think about your end goals. Think about, why am I doing something? I understand we all have feelings and like gut instincts and stuff, but you got to think about why. And like Christopher mentions, the problem is that, let's just say you were in America and you had a Russian history and Russian language degree. Okay, because you seem to have a pretty broad degree. Let's just say Russian language, Russian history. What could you do with that? Not much. I mean, you could become one of the army of analysts or something, but that's kind of a tight knit kind of clique. I think to really become one of the great Russian analysts, you essentially have to graduate from the Ivy League. Your Yale, Harvard, Stanford. If someone were to get, I don't know, freaking Oklahoma University degree in, Russian studies and political science, I just think that there's so few jobs related to that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere. So yeah, you got to be real careful with these degrees. You have to think about where you're going in the future. And also, Christopher mentions that you should buy the book Worthless by Aaron Clarey. Aaron Clarey is a very interesting chap. He is a libertarian, and as you know on this channel, I think libertarianism is kind of a it's kind of like answering the liberal fire with gasoline, but his life advice he gives, especially to young men, pretty spot on. But only in the context of if you're looking out for number one. So if you believe in the libertarian theory of me uber alles, then Aaron Clarey gives really good advice. If you want to, I would say you might want to blend his ideas with maybe some more ideas that put you in a society where you have to live with other people, and I think you're going to get good results. So the guy is a smart cookie, and I would love to be on his show one day. He is a pretty decent guy. Bakani continues, I heard that La Presidenta of Mexico invited Vladimir Putin, and she wants to join BRICS. If the invitation is true, things are getting hot and exciting, man. That would be weird. The new president of Mexico seems very much one of the many Washington stooges that are put in power in Mexico. I don't know. I don't believe that. But how about this, Bakani? Hey, if Mexico submits the paperwork and does the one thing about too, I've actually read about BRICS membership. It's very organic. It is kind of like a social club. So it's not like certain things where there's this, you just check these boxes. There kind of are some boxes to check, but it's kind of based on the feels and some analysis. So they're free to try. And trust me, one of the real nightmares for, let's just say, the global hegemon would be for especially Mexico to go multipolar. That would be huge in terms of shifting the way things work. And in some ways, it could actually be a very good thing for those of you who are the more MAGA Trump people, because if Mexico no longer was sort of, let's just say, I don't know, I won't say colonized, in vassal status, and it became another real geopolitical, essentially, player, which Mexican industry is doing pretty well, by the way, guys. Mexico's not as poor as they say. It's kind of weird. A lot of people flee through Mexico, but there's still a lot of people left in Mexico doing stuff. Because one of the key things, I read this book that I was given as a present, and I wish I would have taken it from America, especially now that I can't get books anymore. But it's sort of listed like the 10 most important battles in history. And the one that kind of surprised me is it said or wars in history. And they said the Mexican-American War. Because after that, Mexico was never a real player in geopolitics. That after that moment, that created the opportunity for America to become the global hegemon, with an underpopulated Canada to the north and a sort of broken, vassalized Mexico to the south, and to the west and east, gigantic oceans. The perfect geopolitical position to be in over this giant territory which connects two major oceans. And if Mexico were to go multipolar, it would change really that whole. It would make the sweet geopolitical deal that America has by default become way less sweet. Way less sweet. Okay? So that would really change things if you have the United States that compete with Mexico. And why would that, again, be good for the sort of MAGA whatever people? In a way, because it would then, again, force America, if Washington wants to not see itself crumble and be broken up or whatever, then it's going to have to respect the middle class more. It's going to have to focus more on itself and on its border and controlling what happens within itself. So, definitely a blow to the global hegemon and a blow towards pushing the United States in a thinking of itself first direction, a Trumpist way of looking at the world. So, yeah. Joshua says, I'm sticking to political science and philosophy with the Russian language. Finance is a waste of time because accounting is the same damn thing. Again, yes, you said that, but what do you want to do with this science and philosophy? How do you make money with a science and philosophy degree? Bakani, by the way, the immigrants coming through Mexico are Haitians, Venezuelans, and trafficked Africans. Yeah, and a lot of Russian speakers too, and Chinese. It's everybody. Everyone's going through. And you might be saying, Tim, that's a weird conspiracy. How can you say that? I've seen the video evidence, my friends. A lot of video evidence. So anyways, Mexico has a GDP of 2 trillion USD, and its working class is much younger than European nations. Yeah, trust me, guys, Mexico is primed, and again, this is one of the things that Washington really screwed up, is, rather than, after the Cold War ends, what would have been the best thing if you were to really sit down and think, okay, what's the geopolitical future? You would have discussed what I just discussed about how the worst thing that could happen to, say, America, in a sense, would be for the North American continent to have 2 geopolitical players on it instead of this brilliant one. In a lot of ways, rather than doing some sort of weird globalist integration to create some sort of NAFTA, North American Union, total enslavement, as Alex Jones would say, would be to really try to actually kind of, assimilate Mexico into the vibe, because as soon as you could homogenize the United States with Mexico, with obviously the United States, especially if we go back to like 1990, guess would be the dominant side of that. That would have secured America's geopolitical, situation for basically a virtual eternity. But they didn't do that. They wanted to conquer the whole world, and use Mexicans as vassals. Okay, well, bad choice. Anyways, let's see. We definitely got a lot of calls. Does anyone want to call in today? A lot of people have paid for Telegram, because usually I look for the blue sort of icon to show a hand waving. There's a lot of blue icons, but none of them are hands. Looks like we're not getting any call-ins today. So anyways, guys, unless some people... Oh, we have another message. They do build about Mexico. They do build stuff of their own. For example, the Mexicans built the Maya, which is 100% made. What do you mean then Maya, which is 100% made train thing? There's like a Maya train. I'm sorry, man. I don't understand what you're referring to. I think you missed some words in there. Yeah, but okay. So anyways, we have some people who want to talk. Alex wants to talk. Why does Alex go first? Because his name appeared first. Luis, I see you. We'll get to you later. So Alex, please unmute yourself, because if you don't unmute yourself, I don't think I can. Hello.
Hello. Hey, I didn't have much to say. I just wanted to check in here from Donetsk. Before I got here, I didn't know the water still is on the schedule, so hopefully everything continues to go well. As you said, their incursion is hopefully, just a PR stunt.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say hello.
Oh, well, nice to meet you, man. What brings you to Donetsk?
I came to volunteer. I want to do some humanitarian aid. I'm going to help some kids. Right now, the plan is hopefully to send them to the seashore, kids from Petrovsky district, to, get them away from everything for a little while and give them a break from all this. So that's the plan for now. Still trying to get the logistics in order.
Okay, well, where would you take them, like Taganrog or something like that?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm actually working with Ludmila, the wife of Russell, and I don't know, maybe somewhere in Crimea or something like this.
All right. Well, we just shared news that it looks like that theoretical train line that would be, an alternative to like the Crimean bridge over the new territories over land has been finished. So maybe the Crimea might actually be pretty accessible. So yeah, but slightly more expensive. Crimea is pricey, man. Really pricey. But then if you have the donations, maybe that doesn't matter. Or if there's government support and they just write it off, then maybe it's not a big deal. But yeah.
Right now, it's just all self-funded myself. We estimate it's going to cost about 26,000 rubles per kid. I want to send maybe not 10 kids because maybe a couple people should be well they will be adults like chaperones.
Oh,
So
okay.
six,
Well, one
seven
thing is,
kids and
as I
few
would
adults.
recommend, is for you to record and publish a lot of the stuff. I know not every person wants to be this like social media machine, but try your best. Why? Because, dude, judging by your accent, doing volunteer work on the other side of the line, man, if you ever try to go back home, you're going to be in deep shit. So if you're doing a lot of volunteer work, you definitely, let's just say, want this to be recorded in public.
Yeah,
You know, on the Russian
yeah,
side. On the
definitely.
Russian side, not the West will kind of maybe know one way or the other, but the Russian side, if you can kind of get a little, put it this way, become a sort of known entity, you're much more likely to be for people to maybe help you get through the migration system later if you choose to do that. So
That's the goal. And actually, I think that gentleman, I forget his name, who asked something about coming. He said he was worried. Actually, have a bit of a funny story. I also took a picture of something that I didn't know I maybe should not have taken a picture of and kind of got hopped out on, but
yeah.
was able to explain myself. And right away, once I said why I was here, what was going on, it's the same story as the lady that you mentioned. They're like, "Oh, okay, like that's really
Yeah.
cool. Like, welcome. We're glad to have you here." So these stories about snatching people up for no reason and just taking them
Yeah.
away, I mean, it's just
Well, yeah,
nonsense.
you could even say maybe I don't know if you start watching maybe more Russian television or mainstream media, you can see that there's and also living here, you can see there's sort of different levels. Like the police on the street who have to deal with like some drunk person or this kind of issue, like please don't photograph that. They're real calm about it. The only time you actually see someone like really get like sort of taken out by the police, not taken out killed, but just like slammed to the ground, that's like your drug lords, your potential terrorists, like the guys that where they really feel they have a strong case against them. Those are the guys where they really snatch them up and throw them in a van like a sack of potatoes. But that doesn't happen to normies or minor infractions or all this other stuff. So I think that the Western media specifically likes to make it look like no matter what you do, you're getting thrown in that van and given the same treatment as like a narco baron or whatever.
Yeah,
But
definitely,
that's what they
definitely
like to
not
do.
true.
They like to lie. That's they're in the business of lying, unfortunately, at least for now.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
well,
Exactly.
anyways, man, I wish you all the best. And how about this? Since you already know my channel and all that, keep us updated. And if you have any interesting photos or videos, I'd be happy to share them on my channel. That's about all I could do. I don't have the most successful channel on Telegram, that's for darn sure, but it's better than nothing.
Hey, it's better than mine. I have one, and it's only got 12 people. So
I
maybe
give
in
it
the
time.
future,
Give it time.
we'll get something going.
All right,
So
man.
cool, man. Thank you.
Best of
Thanks for
luck.
having me
Stay
on.
strong.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Louise. I would assume the emphasis is Louise, not Lewis, but I could be wrong.
Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Very nice to meet you. This is my first time hearing your live. I have been on
Right.
your Telegram channel maybe for a week.
Oh.
Thank you very much for what you are doing. I think it's amazing. I am from Mexico City. I'm from Mexico City.
Oh.
I lived in New Jersey for 3 years in central Jersey, near Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm in Mexico City, and I would just like to add some comments about the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum.
Yeah, tell us, because I would love to
I
hear that from someone who's inside the culture. I don't speak Spanish, so I don't read your news. I don't know anything. You tell us.
Okay, yes. By the way, I studied international relations.
Oh.
Right now, I'm focused into digital agriculture. I want to move to Russia. That's another story. I can tell you later about that.
Okay, if you could do
The
the
thing
American
is,
Village, we'd love to have you. But anyways.
yes, thank you. The thing is that as I have seen how to say, let's say how things are going geopolitically speaking, I don't think that Mexico will join BRICS in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
So previously this year, right now, he's going to be the next Ministry of Economy. He used to be the Ministry of Foreign Affairs
Mm-hmm.
in the last term, Marcelo Ebrard. first, he said that Mexico would like to join the BRICS. You know,
Yeah.
that was in February, in March, something like that. But then I don't know what happened, but like 1 week or 2 weeks later, the president came out and said no, like
Uh,
BRICS is not on the table. You know, we don't we are not going to join BRICS.
mm,
And to be honest, as I can see this situation, it would be like exactly it would be a mistake for Mexico. It would be like exactly the mistake that Ukraine did with Russia, you know, by wanting to get closer to Europe instead of keeping close to Russia.
mm,
Right now, more than 80% of the exports and imports from Mexico, they come from the U.S. or to the U.S. You know,
mm,
so most of our trade is with the U.S. Mexico is the second largest trading partner after Canada.
mm,
So the thing is that the economies are pretty tight, you know,
yeah.
as Ukraine was with Russia back in the days, you know. Ukraine they have several factories that they 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 are not useful anymore
Mm,
because they used to produce different components for Russia, but you know, just some components, not the finished product, you know.
oh yeah.
So I think that the market we couldn't find a big market as the one that we have with the U.S. In Latin America, in South America, or in Europe, or in China, or in Russia, because for mainly geographic reasons, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
The
the thing
thing,
about Mexico is that even if Mexico and America were to become really competitive again, you can't deny that who's the big neighbor. It's a really weird situation
yes,
where you have these two major population centers and they kind of only have that physical border with each other because everywhere else that Mexico borders is kind of jungle, you know.
yes, yes, exactly. So I think that at some point Mexico has some leverage. You know, Mexico can play, let's say, the prettiest lady in the strip club. We say here, you know,
Mm-hmm.
la puta más buena del cabaret, where at some point we can flirt, but just flirt with China, with Russia, you know, a little bit. But in the meantime, the U.S. will be pretty aware of these, how to say, relationships, you know, because I think that the U.S. would do exactly what Russia somehow had done. Has done with Ukraine, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't
Well,
want to
one thing,
you
Luis,
want to go with the other girl?
hold on. You got to remember recent history though. That what you're saying is like classical geopolitics, where you think you're going to try to play all the sides here. This is a very multipolar world way of looking at things, which is cool. But you have to remember that it really depends on the power of the United States, because there were also certain people like Nursultan Nazarbayev in Kazakhstan who even wrote a book, and he said Kazakhstan is going to be like the point. It's going to be a triangle of Russia, China, and America, and Kazakhstan's going to be in the middle of this triangle, and we're going to trade for everyone. And they tried to overthrow his ass. Well, his successor. So he got color. He attempted color revolution. Guess who tried to be between Russia and Europe as being the sort of, why are they called the Minsk agreements, right? Because Minsk was supposed to be the
Uh-huh.
neutral zone between Russia and the West. The West didn't like that. So this, when you're dealing with Washington, you can't be this the flirty stripper at the strip club, right? You can't do that because Washington's going to come up with a club and say, you belong in my kitchen and only my kitchen.
Exactly.
You see? So maybe in the near future, but for the present, that strategy is not viable. Unless you're willing to go head to head with Washington. Because who knows? Maybe they're so overwhelmed right now. Now is the time, you know. So.
Yes. Those were my comments, Tim.
All right, thank you very much, Luis. Great to have you. One thing though, how did you find this Telegram channel? Because for a long time we were getting a lot of new subscribers, and then it just stopped one day, and then it actually went backwards. So I'm kind of wondering, where did the hell did you find this channel?
So look, as I've told you, I am planning to move to Russia next year.
Oh, so you're kind of looking into stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, so I have been looking at different Telegram channels, and you know that when you follow one, they give you other
Oh, well,
suggestions.
yeah. Similar content.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So,
all right, Luis, great talking to you, man. All right, I'll talk to you later. And hey, if you have any, again, desires or interest in the American village, let me know, because we still got spots available, and I want to get this thing filled up this year. That's for sure, because next year, who the hell knows what'll happen. So, anyways, I think we have a few more comments, and then I guess if no one wants to call in, we'll just call this a night. So, anyways, Christopher continues, referring to Joshua's attempt to find a bright future via diploma in Russia. He says, computer science degrees are only good as resume fodder to appease HR. Certifications absolutely rule in the IT field. You are probably right about that, Christopher. This is way out of my zone. Sure. I can say working in a video game company, no one asked the programmers where the hell they graduated from. They asked what they could program, or show what they could program. But that's Russia. And that was Russia 20 years ago. Hey Tim, please send this message to Luis. Luis Bacani says, saludos a usted man. Best wishes for Mexico. All right. Christopher Barrett, I strongly suggest studying online at Western Governors University. Less money and less bullcrap. Russian stuff best studied in Russia. Well, yeah, that's just like on this channel. One thing I wanted to share is, when did I share this post? Was it yesterday or the day before? Who the hell knows? Hold on. We're going back in time. Back in time a little bit. Well, I guess I do share a lot on this channel. It's good. But I shared a video about someone, here it is. You can see the video. It says the YouTube title of the video is Plagiarism Myth and the Tatar Yoke in quotes. And this guy does a great job of just ripping apart this really popular yet highly biased sort of video analysis or breakdown of Russian history. It's really good. Everyone should watch it. And you're kind of reminding me of about studying in Russia, because Russian history inside Russia is completely different. You know what I mean? It's almost like how remember there's I should use this example more often. Well, you know how there was the 1960s Batman. Even for people who are younger, you probably have seen, at least in memes, this like weird Batman TV show where everything's really cheap and it's really comfortable, colorful, really colorful, and they use all these weird like sound effects. It's just ridiculous. Someone punches someone, and on the screen it actually says boom or pow. And then you have like the Christian Bale Dark Knight Batman, where he's just like brooding. The entire movie is so dark you can't see anything, and he's just brooding and angry and full of hate. Now, both of these stories are about Batman. They both involve presumably the Joker and these other nemesis of him in Gotham City, right? And probably something takes place at the Wayne Manor or the Batcave and all this other stuff, right? It has a lot of the same sort of names and locations and some similar storylines, but as you can see, they're completely freaking different. And that's like Russian history in the West versus Russian history within Russia. Same kind of place, locations, and names, completely different stories, completely different views on the characters, I should say. So yeah, if someone, if their mission in life, again, as one of these things is, it's really hard to build a career off of having a history degree. I'm going to tell you that right now. But if you're, maybe you already are financially set, or you are just obsessed with history, like that is your thing. You're like Matt Ehret, the Lord of history. We know one of the great historians of our time, I think, is Matt Ehret. I'm going to say it right now. One of the great historians of our time has been on this program multiple times, and he's still alive. He's actually younger than I am, so hopefully he's going to be alive for a really long freaking time. So, if you want to become Matt Eric 2.0, then you really should study Russian history here with the materials that are here. That would probably be in your best, and also in Russian. But anyways, that's if you are just obsessed with doing it the right way, becoming the absolute best, regardless of the fact that you'll be eating ramen noodles for the rest of your life. But anyways, guys, I guess that was a pretty darn good live stream. I feel good. I feel better than when I woke up today. That's for darn sure. Anyways, friends, I'm gonna bail. Tim Kirby Russia here, signing out.